To Israel now, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is defending his decision to expand Israel's offensive into Gaza. During a press conference yesterday, Netanyahu said Israel, quote, has no choice but to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas, and expects to complete the new offensive fairly quickly. Netanyahu's office also released a statement saying that he spoke with President Trump yesterday. The pair discussed Israel's plan to take over the remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza, while Netanyahu thanked Trump for his steadfast support. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera claims Israel intentionally struck a tent housing journalists in Gaza City yesterday, killing 5 employees of the network. Israel says one of those killed was a member of Hamas, a claim Al Jazeera and the journalists themselves previously and strenuously denied. Al Jazeera, which is funded by Qatar's government, said 10 of its staff have been killed by Israel since 2023. Let's bring in NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley, who joins us live from Tel Aviv. Matt, what more do you know at this point?
Yeah, I mean, as we're speaking, Mika, about these journalists who were killed, 10 of them, as you mentioned, from Al Jazeera. The Al Jazeera journalists have routinely said that they are being targeted specifically for assassination. And as you heard from the Israelis, that's not entirely incorrect. The Israelis were targeting these 5 journalists, they said, among them Anas al-Sharif, who the Israelis said were leading a Hamas terror cell. Now, these 5 who were killed over the weekend, they add to that whole death toll of well over 220 journalists who, according to Palestinian health officials in Gaza, have been killed since those October 7th attacks nearly 2 years ago. Now, you were also mentioning how Benjamin Netanyahu said in that press conference that he did in Hebrew and in English, appealing both to domestic audiences here in Israel and to the international community, where we've been seeing a huge upswell of criticism of Netanyahu personally ever since Friday, when he announced this plan to expand Israel's attacks against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, saying that he was going to be moving the Israeli military into places like the Al-Mawasi area, which had before, since the beginning of this conflict, stood as a sort of humanitarian enclave within Gaza, as well as Gaza City, where many people, observers, believe that some of these last remaining hostages, of whom there are thought to be about 20 alive, are remaining. Now, as you mentioned, Benjamin Netanyahu said he had no choice but to expand the fight against Hamas, to finally destroy them. Well, this is something that it seems he's doing in response to criticism from his own right flank politically, who were against his proposal to expand his operation, saying it wasn't going far enough. And we heard this over the weekend from several luminaries in the far-right Israeli political sphere, who really are propping up Benjamin Netanyahu's prime ministership and have been for much of the past 2 years. So we're seeing the prime minister really taking another sort of sop to these far-right elements, as we're also seeing people on the left once again streaming in their hundreds and thousands into the streets of cities throughout Israel, demanding that the prime minister reevaluate his plan to up the tempo of attacks in the Gaza Strip. This is led by the family members of those 20 hostages who are still thought to be living in the Gaza Strip, because they say that this could put hostages' lives at risk, especially as the Israeli military plans to move into areas where those hostages are thought to be. Now, it was only last year that we saw 6 hostages who were killed execution style as the Israeli military moved in close to them. This is something that is front of mind for a lot of the family members of these hostages. They think that Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to continue military pressure against Hamas isn't going to free their loved ones. They're saying that the only thing that will get these hostages freed is a negotiated deal, and they believe that Netanyahu isn't doing enough to try to pursue some sort of ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. So we're hearing a lot of anger there. We're seeing protests throughout the world, and we've been hearing very strong criticism of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from the United Nations Security Council yesterday, where there was another meeting where we heard the word genocide once again being thrown about by diplomats, as we're seeing protests again, not just in Israel, but throughout the world, all of them demanding that Benjamin Netanyahu halt his plans to expand his attacks in the Gaza Strip.
All right, NBC's Matt Bradley, live from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. On the issue of hunger and starvation in Gaza, the possibility of famine in Gaza. The New York Times reporting yesterday that aid shipments from Israel into the Gaza Strip actually lower than at other points of the war. So obviously, relief agencies deeply concerned that the hunger and starvation, the famine will only grow in Gaza in the coming weeks and months. David Ignatius, we heard from Matt Bradley's report that, once again, Benjamin Netanyahu is doing what far-right extremists in the Israeli government that keep him in power want him to do. But when I hear talk about the IDF going in and occupying Gaza, it sure sounds like they are stepping into quicksand. Israel did not leave Gaza in 2005 out of the goodness of their heart. It is a terrible place for Israeli soldiers to occupy. But that appears to be exactly what they're going to do. What's the outcome of this going to be, David?
So you can't get a clear answer to that question from Prime Minister Netanyahu. He'll speak about total victory over Hamas. Heaven knows Hamas has been a horrific force in Gaza, most of all for Palestinians. The most telling thing right now, Joe, is the growing opposition to Netanyahu's plans within the Israeli military. They're fed up with a war that does not have a strategic purpose. The military threat to Israel from Hamas is gone. It was broken a year ago. I had Israeli generals tell me a year ago, we have accomplished our goals in Gaza. It's time to get the hostages out. They strongly supported the effort that the U.S. was leading, Biden administration at that time, to negotiate a lasting ceasefire. They feel that even more strongly now. And the idea of going back to war, the latest estimate I read was another 6 months in Gaza before you fully occupy and conquer Gaza City and these other population centers. Just doesn't make sense to the military. They're exhausted. They don't see clear gains. And, the fear is that the only gain here is a political one for Netanyahu, who needs the war to continue. I've always been reluctant to assign that motive to him. But as I look at the criticism of him from Israel's most senior and experienced military commanders who say this plan doesn't make sense, I really begin to have concerns. And I hope President Trump, who's been willing to speak out against Netanyahu when he disagreed with him, will say it's time for this to end. This is tragedy upon tragedy. It's nearly 2 years after the awful Hamas attack on Israel. Time for this to end. And Trump is the person who would say that most loudly.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense to a lot of people, unless perhaps it's a bluff to get Hamas to the negotiating table again. Obviously, the ceasefire negotiations fell apart a couple weeks ago. Richard, this is all taking place in the context of the international community, minus the United States, really souring on Netanyahu and Israel. Germany stopped selling weaponry to Israel. Australia, the latest to say that it recognizes Palestinian statehood. Clearly, Bibi's audience is domestic. As David points out, he wants to hold on to power. He probably views this as a way to continue to hold on to power. But surely there are some pressures, or at least some domestic considerations, as they look at the international community saying enough is enough. And I'm wondering, as someone who's seasoned in this politics, how big a deal is this? How much pressure does Netanyahu feel as the international community turns on him?
He doesn't feel an awful lot. It's short-sighted. I'll be blunt. He's turning Israel into a pariah state. And this is not in Israel's long-term interest. Israel has been embedded in the West for its entire existence as a nation-state, and that is being threatened. The alienation from Europe of younger generations here is, again, unbelievably short-sighted. And let me just make a larger point about Bibi Netanyahu. It's where Mika began the section and Matt Bradley said, Bibi Netanyahu comes on and says Israel has no choice. Well, that was maybe true on October 7th and 8th, 2 years ago. Israel had no choice then. But 22 months later, I'm sorry, Israel has an enormous set of choices. And the choice to continue and expand the war, now this has become a truly ill-advised, unfortunate war of choice. It no longer is a war of necessity. This is not something Israel should be doing or needs to be doing. It is something it is choosing to be doing, and it's obviously not in the interests of Palestinian civilians. It's also not in the interests of Israel, just for the reason you raised, Sam, in terms of its domestic politics here. It rips Israel apart from within. It weakens the Israeli Defense Forces, which are critical to its security, and it weakens Israel's relations with Americans and with people around the world. This is a flawed war of choice. Let's just say for what it is.
And there are families in Israel, those who still have loved ones being held hostage, who have expressed real concern about this, thinking, as Matt Bradley detailed, this could actually lead to their demise. We have seen the growing humanitarian crisis. Yes, more food has come in to Gaza in the last week or two, but only a little, not nearly enough. We see the violence still continue there. Matt also said correctly, Mika, that so much of this is being fueled by members of Netanyahu's, the far-right members of his coalition, who basically are keeping him in power, and he is doing what he can to stay there. And we have not heard. We heard from Israel yesterday saying that Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump had a call. We've yet to get a readout from the White House as to what was discussed. I suspect President Trump, who's got some events today, will be asked about it. We'll learn more about if he is willing to warn off Netanyahu from this plan. But at least to this point, outside of legitimately expressing dismay about the famine, saying, no, there is starvation in Gaza, and that pressure has led to more food there. Otherwise, Mika, he's been unwilling to stand up to Prime Minister Netanyahu, on this matter of pushing further in and potentially occupying Gaza for a long time.